Perfect. I think we can slowly get started. Hi and welcome everyone to this product update. My name is Alex and with me today is my colleague Matti.
Hi everyone.
And the two of us will show you one of the newest updates in Condens, which is about whiteboards. So this session will be interesting for you if you have used Condens before and if you're using it currently, but also if Condens is a new tool to you. This might give you a chance to learn more about it and how you can use it for your research data analysis and in the repository. So to get started, we will do a short introduction of what the whiteboard is, how you can use it, and show you some of the use cases. Feel free to make use of the Q&A feature, so ask your questions there and we will address them towards the end. And also, we will record this session and share it afterwards. So in case you have to leave early, we will also share this afterwards. Great, then let's get started. And maybe let's talk shortly about why we think whiteboards make sense. And I think this is should be obvious. In the research process, there's a wide variety of methods, let's call it that way. So things where you would need different styles of analysis, different approaches, not only for analysis, but also for reporting, how you share findings, how you present data. And the whiteboard is a typical tool to be used for that because it provides this flexibility that is required to cover all these methods and reporting styles. So in general, it totally makes sense. And the idea why we integrated this in Condens is because this is the place where a lot of the analysis already happens. And this is typically the place where the research data already is. So we think it's just a logical extension of the research process because you have all your recordings there, your notes, and the research data and the people you collaborate with. And we think it's just an addition to a seamless research process that the whiteboard is also there and you can pull it up quickly and immediately and start a session here. On the other side, we also think it's important that the outcomes of the whiteboard can be used easily and are embedded in a repository. I'll talk a bit more about that, but one of the main benefits of having the whiteboard in Condens now is that it's deeply integrated into your research repository, so it's accessible and usable for others as well. I'll talk a bit about what that means and how you can use that in detail. With that short introduction, let's get started and let's jump right in. So I'll share my screen and we can have a look together. How you can use that. And I want to introduce it to the whiteboard in three use cases using three types of scenarios, sort of. And the first one is one where you might find that happens to you. It's a typical scenario. So you may have done a couple of interviews, conducted them as we did here. In our case, recorded them, maybe uploaded them to Condens or have them available and started to maybe identify key themes or initial themes, initial observations in here. And now the question is how you want to analyze it or how you can find common themes across those interviews in a better way. And if you've used Condens before, you know that we have the sidebar here on the right where you can approach or access the artifacts. And artifacts until now were these documents that were in a document format, sort of. So in a vertical format where you could take your notes and include findings or highlights that you have. And beyond the artifacts in a document format, the new thing now is that we also support a whiteboard. And this is exactly what it sounds like. So basically a free area where you can work flexibly and move things around. So let's start with an empty whiteboard and see what this looks like. I now have the whiteboard here, and I'm still in my split screen mode. That means I'm still in the interview with Jessica. And the whiteboard is basically this infinite canvas that you can use to place elements here and move them around. So an easy way of getting started would be that I have an interesting quote highlight here from the interview with Jessica. I use that, pull it into the highlight, and have this available here. And as I go through, I start to add more things and can make a sense of them. In this case, I'm jumping straight to the highlight screen. I'm adding a couple of highlights to show you what the whiteboard is capable of. And now I switch into full screen mode to show you that basically the highlights are like post-its on the wall, and I can move them around and I can cluster them to indicate that there's a common theme, there's something that belongs together, and thereby step by step start to make sense of data and identify patterns. The split screen is actually a good way to get started because it shows you which highlights you have in your project, and you can easily pull them over. Additional feature you might want to use is the option to show or basically hide the highlights that you have already used. So you can select this option here, not used, and select artifact in sidebar, and then it automatically hides the highlights that you have already used. So if I'm pulling in this one now, this will not show up here anymore. So I have a good overview of the highlights that I've already used, and step by step can pull them in or cluster them directly in the split screen mode, however I prefer. The other things that you can do here is that you can add names to the clusters if you start to identify themes. You can add names to the cluster. You can color code them to get a better overview. And you can also zoom in and out in order to see the whole thing, but then zoom in to see the details. And the information that will be shown adapts to your zoom level. So if you're in the details, you will see the entire text and images. If you're zoomed out, you'll see more of an overview. For example, in this case, the cluster name that I added here. This helps me to see the overarching themes from there. And as you can already see, Matti is also here in the whiteboard, so it's fully collaborative. You can know where the others are, work together. If I click on Matti's icon up here, then I will get to the position where she's currently, so we can collaborate and synthesize together. That's the first use case, and I think it's straightforward, starting with an empty whiteboard and doing an affinity mapping session. And the whiteboards in Condens also support more than affinity mapping. So if you click on the option to add a new artifact, you will see that beyond the empty whiteboard, there's also a range of templates, as you may know them from the notes and documents tab. We also provide a range of templates that Condens come with. So, for example, we have beyond the affinity map, a user journey map and an empathy map that you can use. And what that looks like is the following. So the empathy map comes with a couple of options beyond just clustering that we can see here, the elements that you would need in order to do the analysis. And you can also see them here in the sidebar or on the side where you have the tools available to add them. In my template, they're already available. So that could be a text box that I can use. It could be an empty cluster that is sort of available here as a frame to add evidence later. It could be a background color to provide orientation. That could be a line to indicate, for example, a satisfaction score or user experience level during steps of a journey. We also have emojis that you can use here. And yeah, the typical elements you would need in order to get started. And as you have this canvas or this template here available, you can use it again in the way I showed before to add information and place it directly in here. You can see right now I'm zoomed out, so I'm basically seeing it on a high level. And from that, again, I can pull highlights and add them, for example, to the cluster in order to add evidence. Or I can describe the journey steps to say what the first step of the journey is. And thereby add information to the template and fill it that way. The whiteboard also supports other elements that you have in Condens. For example, if you have a chart that you prepared, you can pull it in as well and use it in the whiteboard. And the other aspect that we have, as you may also know from Condens, is comments. So the commenting option works by placing your comments on a particular position in the whiteboard and then adding a comment with the possibility to mention other users and collaborate to point them to a certain position in the whiteboard, for example. So those are the elements that you have in addition to affinity mapping to enrich your whiteboard and use it in other formats as well. Lastly, of course, you can also create your own templates. You will find this here in the settings. If you go to workspace, scrolling down, you will have the artifact templates, and by default, Condens will have the affinity map, user journey, and empathy map. But you can also create your own whiteboard template from here. If you do competitor analysis, SWOT analysis, or any other type of research, you can define it here and then use it in the further steps of the process. An additional tip for the templates, and that might be relevant, is that you can also lock elements. Let me go back to my whiteboard. So you can lock elements here. That means the size and the position cannot be changed, but you can add information. For example, you can add text or you can add highlights to it. So that's useful for creating your own templates and working with those. Great. Then let's move on to the third use case. And this is cross-project analysis. So by now, we've only worked within the scope of one project, but we totally understand that if you have multiple projects in Condens, you may also want to do a whiteboard session across different projects. And this is easily possible. So let me switch to my meta study project here. So this is a project that we simply created to do cross-project analysis. And again, I would start by creating a whiteboard and start with the empathy map, for example, here. And I could now, firstly, I have the whiteboard here on the side, and I could change the color. This one, maybe not the best fitting icon for the empathy map, but let's see. This one. Here we go. And I can now pin this artifact in the side up here. That means it will stay there no matter in which project I am. If I switch projects, it will stay there. So it helps me to pull in data from different projects, for example. Let me open it again on the side. And now I could switch to different projects and pull in information from there. For example, from this usability study, I could add information and bring it here, as well as going to my global tags, which contain all highlights to a certain topic or tag. and do the same from here. For example, if I'm analyzing the pain points and usability issues, I could do that right from here and pull in the highlights and add them to the map. Another thing that might be relevant is filtering and sorting. So you have the same filtering and sorting possibilities as you know, and you could now display the highlights that are relevant for you. For example, in our case, if you're looking for usability issues, we could filter for all of them in order to pull them over and add them to the whiteboard. Or we could sort by additional meta information. Let's pick persona to see, for example, how different persona groups where we're talking about a certain topic, and then pull the data from the whiteboard here as well. Of course, you can also bulk select highlights and then pull them over to the highlight as a to the whiteboard in bulk. The last thing to mention here is that within the whiteboard, you still, of course, have access to the highlights. So if you need to click on a highlight, you can open it in this modal. You can edit it if you need to. You can add additional tags to the highlights, so you have the same possibilities as in any other place in Condens, and it's deeply integrated into your workflow. Having talked about the 3 use cases, let's now talk about sharing, because after you're done with your whiteboard session, you probably want to make this accessible to others. So let me go back to my interview project and select the whiteboard that we've been working on. That's another one, but it doesn't matter. So if I want to make this accessible, as with the other artifacts and Condens, I can publish it. So I have the option to create a public link. That means anyone, even without a Condens account, can access the whiteboard and see the findings there, with the option to add a password to it. If I don't use this public link option, then I can simply publish it and make it accessible in the stakeholder repository, so stakeholders can see it as well. And stakeholders will have the option to see the whiteboard. They will have the option to comment or reply to comments, and they will also see and be able to see any highlights or play the video clips that you added. In addition to that, you also have the option to download the whiteboard content as an image. So if you want to embed it or use it somewhere else, you can also get an image from that. Cool. Then the last topic I want to talk about before getting to the questions is how this is sort of embedded, because we also got a lot of questions about what to do with whiteboard sessions, what to do with the outcomes of whiteboard, and how we can best use this. And the good thing is that if you use this in Condens, you have this available in your repository, without any additional steps and without any additional effort. That means, of course, the entire content of the whiteboard is searchable. So if I pick any content from here and search this, it will find it in the whiteboard, and will also then, by clicking on it, get me directly to that position. So no additional effort. The entire content is searchable. Then all of the evidence is also connected to the raw data, so you can easily jump back to the position where this highlight was coming from. I can always easily get the context, and it's connected from the raw data through the analysis to the whiteboard, and thereby you sort of keep your trace of evidence. In addition to that, you also have artifact information fields. This is what you see here, where you see the artifact title. You can add additional information, structured information, to make it easier for others to search and find the artifacts. In our case, we added 3 types of information: journey phase, customer group, and product, but of course they again are fully customizable. So this is makes it easy for stakeholders, especially to search. If you have product managers looking for certain types of research or working in different teams, then this will make it easier to have the whiteboard also show up in the respective searches that I used here. And last but not least, the whiteboards are, just as any artifact in Condens, usable and can be referenced in both ways. That means if I open my whiteboard here on the side, I can reference other reports, other personas, for example, other pieces of information, and the other way around as well. So if I want to embed a whiteboard in a report, for example, and reference it here, I'd simply pull it over and place it in here, and then it's available for others to see. So the idea is that the whiteboard is really like a native element in your repository, and you can use it just as the other artifacts, and there's no additional work required to embed it in your sort of the body of knowledge that you create for your organization.